had never cared much about Valentine's Day. It always felt like one of those overly planned holidays where people try a little too hard and pretend everything is perfect for a night. But that year, my girlfriend at the time wanted a special evening. Dinner, wine, a small cabin she'd booked outside the city. It wasn't far, just an hour's drive into an area with a handful of vacation rentals scattered along a lake. She had arranged everything. I didn't even know the exact address until that afternoon when she sent it to me with a heart emoji. I remember thinking the whole thing felt rushed. The roads were slick with leftover snow from the week before, and work had drained me. But she was excited, and I didn't want to ruin that. So I packed an overnight bag, picked up a bottle of wine, and started the drive just after sunset. The route was simple until I got off the main highway. Then the road narrowed into long stretches of poorly lit woods. My phone signal dropped steadily, but the GPS still worked. The last clear direction it gave was to turn onto a road that didn't really look like a road at all, more like a private driveway that hadn't seen a plow in days. I hesitated, but it was the correct name, so I turned in. The cabin was smaller than I expected, more of a renovated shack with lights on a motion sensor that flickered before they stayed on. Her car wasn't there yet, which wasn't unusual. She was always late to everything. The plan was that she'd arrive after finishing her shift. Inside, the cabin was clean but sparse. Small living space, kitchenette, a single bedroom down the hall. What bothered me immediately was how cold it was. The owner had left the heat on low, but something about the air felt colder than it should have been. I turned the thermostat up and checked the place just to get familiar with it. It took about an hour before anything felt truly off. She hadn't texted. Not a leaving now, not an update, nothing. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. I assumed she was still at work, maybe finishing late. I wasn't thrilled about sitting alone in a freezing cabin on Valentine's night, but I kept telling myself she'd walk in at any minute. I opened the wine to pass time. That's when I noticed the first thing. The front door wasn't fully latched. I was sure I had closed it. I remembered turning the lock until the deadbolt clicked. But when I walked past it, the door moved slightly, just enough to notice. I checked the lock, still locked, but the door hadn't sealed into the frame. I chalked it up to the wood, swelling in the cold. I pulled it tight until it clicked and tried not to overthink it. Another half hour passed. Still nothing from her. At this point, irritation replaced the earlier cold. I was about to put the bottle away when I heard something shift inside the bedroom. A soft, unmistakable friction of something moving across the floor. I froze where I was. Not scared at first, just confused. The cabin was tiny. The sound had come from the only closed door. I probably left a window cracked, I told myself, even though I knew I hadn't opened one. I walked to the bedroom slowly, trying not to spook myself. I pushed the door open with my foot. The room was empty. The only thing out of place was the bed. The comforter had been folded back slightly, like someone had sat on the edge and slid off. My stomach tightened. I checked the closet. Empty. Checked under the bed. Empty. What bothered me most was how recent the disturbance looked. Like someone had been there minutes before I walked in. I told myself to stop spiraling. The cabin was old. Maybe the comforter had shifted when I opened the window earlier. Except I hadn't opened a window. I checked all of them anyway. locked tight. Another 10 minutes passed before my phone buzzed. When I saw her name, relief flooded me until I opened the message. "I'm sorry, I can't make it tonight. Something came up. Please head home, okay?" I stared at it for a long time. The timestamp said she'd sent it a minute ago, meaning she hadn't been driving, meaning she'd never been on her way, meaning I was sitting alone in a cabin in the woods for absolutely no reason. I didn't respond. I just exhaled sharply, grabbed my bag, and started gathering my things. I'd only been there for 2 hours, but I felt like I'd overstayed something I shouldn't have been part of in the first place. Before leaving, I did one last walkthrough to make sure I didn't forget anything. Living room, clear. Kitchenette, clear. Bedroom. For a second, I thought the bed looked more disturbed than earlier. The comforter had shifted another inch, and one of the pillows was slightly angled toward the edge. I hadn't sat on the bed. I hadn't touched the pillow. That quiet tightening in my stomach returned, sharp this time. I backed out of the room without taking my eyes off it. I grabbed my keys and reached for the door. Locked from the inside. The handle turned, but the deadbolt was jammed. It hadn't jammed when I locked it earlier. It hadn't jammed when I checked it again. But now, it wouldn't move, no matter how much force I used. A wave of heat flushed through my chest. The physical kind of fear that happens when your body reacts before your mind does. My hands shook as I tried again. Harder, then harder. Nothing. I took a step back from the door and forced myself to stay calm. There had to be another exit. There was a back door through the kitchen that led onto a small deck. I moved quickly. Halfway there, something stopped me cold. The hallway light, the one I hadn't touched all night, clicked off. The only light left was from the kitchen, and in the dim glow, the bedroom door, the one I had left wide open, was now only half open. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. I didn't wait to see anything else. I bolted for the back door and yanked the handle. Unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped onto the deck, nearly slipping on the icy boards. I didn't look back. I just ran along the side of the cabin toward the frozen driveway. My car was parked under a thin layer of snow. The relief of seeing it was enough to make my eyes sting. I got in, locked the doors, and turned the engine on. But before I reversed, I glanced back toward the cabin. The bedroom light was on. I had turned it off when I first checked the room. Someone else had turned it back on. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I gripped the wheel. I didn't wait another second. I backed out too fast, skidding slightly, and sped down the narrow road until the cabin disappeared completely behind the trees. My signal returned halfway back to the highway. I called her immediately. This time, the call didn't go to voicemail. She picked up on the second ring. Her voice was calm, normal. "Hey, you okay?" I swallowed hard. "You texted me," I said. "You said you couldn't come. Told me to head home." "What text?" She sounded confused. "The one you sent an hour ago," I said, "saying you weren't coming." There was a pause, a long one. "My phone died around 9, she said finally. "I'm still at work. I haven't sent anything." I didn't speak. I couldn't, because the message was still on my screen. Her name attached, her typing style, her punctuation. But not her. I never went back to that cabin. Never asked for my deposit. Never told her what happened. All I know is this: someone had been inside that cabin with me, moving when I wasn't looking, using the door I just closed, standing somewhere behind me when the hallway light went out. Valentine's Day didn't matter after that. Nothing about love or romance feels the same once you've spent a night in a place where someone else was close enough to touch you without ever needing to be seen. Thanks for watching. No sleep tonight. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow. And if you want more unsettling stories, there are 2 more waiting for you on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, sleep well.